In the cold, dark reaches of space, something terrifying was brewing. The Kronos Collective, a species unlike any other, moved silently through star systems, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Their massive biomechanical ships looked like living nightmares, dark metal intertwined with pulsing organic matter that seemed to breathe and move with an unnatural intelligence. Captain J. Park watched the holographic display, his hands gripping the edge of the command console. The red dots representing Kronos ships were spreading like a virus across the galactic map. Each dot represented a world destroyed, billions of lives erased in moments. The first encounter happened near the Epsilon Cluster, a peaceful region known for its agricultural planets and trading routes. Monitoring stations went dark one by one, like candles being snuffed out in a massive, invisible wind. When rescue ships arrived, they found nothing. No debris, no survivors, just empty space, where entire planetary systems once existed. Intelligence reports suggested the Kronos didn't just kill, they consumed. Entire planetary ecosystems were stripped down to their most basic molecular components, resources absorbed into their strange, living technology. They didn't conquer in the traditional sense. They devoured worlds completely, leaving no trace of previous civilizations. Scientists who studied the limited data were baffled. The Kronos didn't seem motivated by typical conquest strategies. They weren't collecting resources, establishing colonies, or seeking territorial expansion. Their attacks appeared almost random, unpredictable, like a force of nature rather than a calculated military operation. Military strategists from various alien confederations gathered in emergency sessions. Holographic projections showed the terrifying rate of Kronos expansion. In just 3 standard galactic cycles, they had consumed 17 full planetary systems. Defensive fleets sent to intercept were simply absorbed. Their technology dismantled, their crews vanished. The most disturbing reports came from survivors. Rare individuals who managed to escape in small escape pods. They spoke of ships that seemed alive, of corridors that moved like breathing organisms, of weapons that didn't just kill but transformed matter itself. Some survivors went mad, their minds unable to comprehend what they had witnessed. J. Park reviewed the latest transmission from the Galactic Defense Council. Their options were rapidly diminishing. Traditional weapons were useless. Advanced energy shields collapsed within seconds of Kronos contact. Quantum torpedoes simply disappeared, as if swallowed by the living ships. "We need something different," Jay muttered, studying the complex data streams. Traditional military thinking would not work against an enemy that didn't follow any known rules of engagement. The Kronos moved with a bizarre, almost organic coordination. No central command seemed to control them, yet they acted with perfect synchronization. Each attack was precise, each movement calculated to maximum efficiency. They consumed entire worlds in hours, transforming planetary matter into some unknown form of energy or technology. Military analysts estimated that at their current rate of expansion, the Kronos would consume nearly 60% of known habitable space within a single galactic rotation. Entire civilizations were preparing evacuation protocols, knowing that resistance was futile. Some fringe theories suggested the Kronos weren't even a traditional species. Some believed they were a form of advanced artificial intelligence or perhaps a collective consciousness that had transcended biological limitations. Others thought they might be survivors of an ancient, forgotten civilization, now transformed into something beyond human comprehension. J. Park knew one thing with absolute certainty: conventional warfare would not stop them. Something radical, something completely unexpected, would be needed to challenge this cosmic threat. As he watched the holographic display, the red dots continued to spread. Silently, relentlessly, consuming everything in their path. The transmission arrived quietly, slipping through encrypted channels like a ghost. Most would have missed it, a series of compressed data packets that seemed meaningless to untrained eyes. But for the Earth Defense Command, it was everything. Commander Juan, Kim was eating lunch when the alert came. Cold noodles forgotten, he watched the decoded message unfold. Star charts, mathematical sequences, and fragmented communications from dying civilizations painted a terrifying picture of the Kronos threat. The message wasn't a request. It was a final, desperate plea. Earth had been considered a backwater planet by most advanced civilizations. Humans were seen as primitive, technologically limited, always fighting among themselves. No one expected much from them. But something in their psychological profile intrigued the Galactic Council. An unpredictability, a raw adaptability that other species lacked. Juan assembled his team quickly. Not the most decorated soldiers, but the most creative minds Earth could offer. People who thought differently, who broke rules, who saw solutions where others saw only problems. Sarah Rodriguez, a quantum mechanics expert who once got fired from 3 research labs for unconventional approaches. Mark Chen, a software engineer who had designed combat algorithms that mimicked human intuition rather than pure logic. Elena Kim, a psychological warfare specialist who understood human unpredictability better than anyone. They weren't a traditional military unit. They were problem solvers. The initial briefing was short. The Galactic Council's transmission contained minimal information: coordinates, fragmented battle reports, and strange technological signatures of the Kronos ships. But what they didn't say was more important than what they did. "They're hiding something," Mark muttered, analyzing the data streams. "These transmission fragments, they're deliberately incomplete." Sarah's fingers danced across holographic interfaces. Complex mathematical models appeared and disappeared, revealing patterns that made no sense, until they suddenly did. "The Kronos aren't just a military threat," she explained. "They're a complete systemic transformation of matter and energy." Elena studied psychological profiles of civilizations that had already fallen. Her analysis was chilling. The Kronos didn't just destroy, they consumed, transformed, integrated. Juan understood what others didn't. This wasn't about winning a traditional war. This was about survival, about finding a solution that no one else had considered. Earth's military leadership was divided. Some wanted full-scale preparation. Others argued for diplomatic approaches. A few suggested total planetary lockdown. But Juan knew they had only one real choice: go on the offensive. The Experimental Deep Space Battalion was assembled quickly, not with the most advanced technology, but with the most adaptable equipment. Modular ships that could be reconfigured mid-battle, weapon systems that could be reprogrammed instantly, communication networks that could change frequencies faster than any known tracking system. They weren't preparing a traditional military response. They were preparing a completely new form of warfare. As the first ships prepared for launch, Juan looked at his team. They weren't heroes. They were survivors, innovators, problem solvers. The galaxy had called. Humanity would answer, and nothing would ever be the same again. Outside the command center, Earth continued its normal routine. People went to work. Children played. No one knew that their entire civilization's future hung on a small team of unconventional thinkers about to jump into the unknown. The first ship's engines powered up, a low hum that seemed to vibrate with potential, with hope, with something more than just mechanical energy. The first human ships emerged from hyperspace like unexpected predators. No elegant curves or sleek designs, just raw modular machinery that looked more like floating weapon platforms than traditional spacecraft. The Galactic Council observers watched in silent confusion. Lieutenant Sujin Lee stood on the bridge of the HMS Defiance, her eyes locked on the tactical displays. Kronos ships hung in space like dark, breathing organisms, massive constructs that seemed to pulse with an alien intelligence. Most species would have been terrified. She just saw a problem to solve. "Activate adaptive camouflage," she commanded. The ship's outer hull began shifting, mimicking the dark background of space. Not perfect invisibility, but something more. Dynamic, something unpredictable. The Kronos detected them immediately, but their response was different from previous encounters. Instead of immediate destruction, they seemed curious, scanning, analyzing, as if humans were a new type of puzzle they couldn't immediately understand. Sujin knew their advantage was surprise. Humans didn't follow standard combat protocols. Where alien civilizations had precise mathematical approaches to warfare, humans brought chaos, creativity, unexpected solutions. The first weapon test came quickly. A small Chronos scout ship approached, its biomechanical tendrils extending like hungry fingers. Standard targeting systems would have locked and fired. Sujin did something different. Broadcast random frequency signals, she ordered, not communication. Just noise, pure mathematical chaos. The Chronos ship hesitated. Its scanning beams flickered. For the first time in their known history, the collective seemed confused. Mark Chen, sitting at the communication station, was generating millions of random signal patterns per second. Not trying to communicate, just disrupting, creating noise that broke their computational patterns. The human strategy wasn't about destroying the Chronos. It was about breaking their understanding of warfare itself. Weapon systems on the HMS Defiance were unlike anything in galactic archives. Modular platforms that could reconfigure mid-battle, quantum disruptors that didn't just damage, they introduced fundamental uncertainties into technological systems. 3 more Chronos ships approached. Their movement was synchronized, almost like a living organism. Previous encounters showed they would surround and consume. But humans didn't play by those rules. Initiate random jump sequence, Sujin commanded. The ship didn't move predictably. It jumped in non-linear patterns, short distances, unexpected directions. Each movement designed to confuse, to break. Pattern recognition. The Chronos ships struggled. Their computational systems, designed for precise prediction, couldn't calculate human movement. Where alien ships moved like mathematically perfect dancers, humans moved like unpredictable street. Fighters Elena Kim monitored psychological warfare systems. Strange audio signals, visual disruptions, nothing designed to communicate. Everything designed to introduce cognitive dissonance, to make the Chronos question their own perceptions. One Chronos ship suddenly veered away, then another, not retreating, but uncertain, confused. Their perfect coordination suddenly looked fragile. Humans weren't winning through superior technology. They were winning by being fundamentally unpredictable. Sujin allowed herself a small smile. The first engagement wasn't about destruction. It was about proving a simple truth. Sometimes chaos is the most powerful weapon. The universe was about to learn what humans already knew. That creativity beats calculation. That unexpected movement defeats perfect planning. That humanity's greatest strength was its ability to transform, to adapt, to survive. Captain Dong-hyuk Choi watched the massive Chronos command ship through the tactical display. It wasn't just a ship, it was a living nightmare. Organic metal twisted and pulsed, forming structures that defied normal physics. Most species would have called it impossible. Humans just saw it as a problem to solve. His team was small, just 12 specialized operators. No traditional military unit, but a group of problem solvers selected for their ability to think beyond standard protocols. Each member carried specialized equipment designed for one purpose: total system disruption. The infiltration began quietly. Their small stealth craft moved like a shadow, using quantum camouflage that made them almost invisible to Chronos scanning systems. Where other species would have launched a full assault, they chose precision. Surgical intervention. Kim Jae, their technology expert, had spent months studying Chronos communication networks. Not to understand them, but to break them completely. His systems weren't designed to hack. They were designed to introduce total chaos. As they approached the massive ship's outer membrane, something strange happened. The ship's organic structure seemed to breathe, pulse, react. It was alive in ways no traditional spacecraft could be, but humans didn't care about traditional limitations. "Prepare quantum disruption sequence," Dong-hyuk whispered. His team moved with practiced precision. No unnecessary movements, no wasted energy. The first breach happened silently. A small electromagnetic pulse that didn't just damage systems, It introduced fundamental uncertainty into their computational matrix. Where Kronos technology relied on perfect mathematical calculations, human technology introduced beautiful, destructive randomness. Inside the ship, everything was alive. Corridors shifted. Walls moved. Mechanical tendrils responded to unseen signals. But the human team moved differently. No predictable path. No standard approach. Kim J's device looked like nothing special. A small black box with blinking lights. But it carried a virus unlike anything in galactic history, not just a computer infection, but a mathematical concept designed to destroy computational thinking itself. The Kronos Collective began to change. First, slowly, then rapidly. Their perfect coordination started to fracture. Computational networks that had controlled entire star systems began to collapse. Dong-hyuk understood something fundamental. The Kronos weren't just a technological threat. They were a collective consciousness. Break their communication, and you broke their entire existence. Alarms started. Strange sounds echoed through living metal corridors. But the human team moved like ghosts. No fear, no hesitation. Pure, focused destruction. Their mission wasn't about killing. It was about introducing a fundamental concept the Kronos couldn't understand: unpredictability. Each system they touched transformed. Computational networks twisted. Communication channels collapsed. The massive ship, once a symbol of technological perfection, started to break apart from within. The team worked quickly, precisely. 12 humans against an entire technological civilization. But they weren't fighting with weapons. They were fighting with ideas. Quantum disruption signals spread. Communication networks collapsed. The Kronos Collective, once a perfect, synchronized intelligence, began to fragment. As they escaped, the command ship behind them started to disintegrate. Not through physical destruction, but through total systemic failure. Their perfect technology couldn't handle human unpredictability. Dong-hyuk allowed himself a small smile as their escape craft jumped into hyperspace. They hadn't just won a battle. They had introduced a new concept to the universe. Humanity wasn't just another species. They were a force of pure, beautiful chaos. The aftermath was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Where the Kronos once dominated, now only silence remained. Broken ships drifted like dead metal corpses. Their once living technology now nothing more than cold, lifeless fragments. At the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from 100 different civilizations watched in stunned silence. Humans had done what no one thought possible. They hadn't just defeated the Kronos. They had completely dismantled their entire technological civilization. Commander Hwan Kim stood at the center of the massive holographic display. No dramatic speeches, no celebration, just a simple presentation of what had actually happened. The room was so quiet that even breathing seemed loud. They weren't defeated, he explained, pointing to complex data streams. They were fundamentally transformed. The human approach was unlike any military strategy in galactic history. Where other civilizations saw warfare as a mathematical equation, humans saw it as a complex, unpredictable dance. They didn't destroy the Kronos technology. They reimagined. Sarah Rodriguez, the quantum mechanics expert, had already begun studying the recovered Kronos systems. What most saw as alien technology, she saw as an incredible opportunity. Piece by piece, they were reverse engineering an entire technological civilization. It's not about weapons, she told the council. It's about understanding, adaptation. The recovered Kronos technology was strange. Organic metal that could think. Communication networks that worked more like living brains than computer systems. Most species would have been terrified. Humans were excited. Research stations were quickly established. Where other civilizations would have destroyed the captured technology, humans wanted to understand it, learn from it, transform it. Mark Chen led the computational analysis team. His approach was simple. Don't fight the technology. Understand it, adapt it, Make it work for everyone. The first practical applications came quickly. Medical technologies that could regenerate damaged organs, energy systems that worked like living organisms, communication networks that could heal themselves, planetary. Governments that had been on the brink of total collapse now found themselves with new hope. The human approach wasn't about conquest. It was about solving problems. Elena Kim studied the psychological impact. The Kronos hadn't just been a military threat. They were a complete system of thinking. By introducing human unpredictability, they had fundamentally changed how technological systems could function. Weeks turned into months, months into years. The galaxy watched as humans transformed what was once a terrible threat into an incredible opportunity. Small colonies began using adapted Kronos technology, healing systems that could repair entire planetary ecosystems, energy networks that worked like living organisms, communication systems that could predict and prevent conflicts before they began. The Galactic Council, once skeptical of humans, now looked at them differently. They weren't just another species. They were problem solvers, transformers, a civilization that could take the most terrible threat and turn it into an opportunity. Dong-Huk Choi, the captain who led the critical infiltration mission, received countless medals. But he didn't care about honors. For him, it was always about solving the problem, about proving that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt. Years later, historians would debate what actually happened. Some called it a miracle. Others called it the most significant technological transformation in galactic history. But the humans simply called it problem-solving. The Kronos were gone. But their technology lived on, transformed, reimagined, made better by human creativity. The galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere, in research stations and colonies across space, humans continued to do what they did best: turn the impossible into the possible.